We are going to get started, and this is really exciting because this is the first time we're doing this. Sachi and I lecture all the time for programs or for mentorship circles and for the consulting that we do all the time, but we've never done it through Atomic. So, like we said before, when we're doing social media, it's really hard to teach a deep concept because you have like 90 seconds, right, or 2 minutes to kind of teach a concept. So, you're kind of going over like a little superficial blip of it. And so we wanted to start doing the webinars frequently, once a month, last Wednesday of every month, so that we can take a deep dive into various different topics. And if it's going well, maybe we'll do it more often. We'll see. So we're going to give this a try. And just let us know what topics that you want to hear. You can always DM me. You could always email me, ria@atomicanesthesia.com, and we would love to hear your ideas. For our very first episode of our webinar, what we really wanted to cover was time management because it is actually a question that I get very, very often, especially when I post little pictures of my time blocking techniques, and people are constantly messaging me and saying, how do you do that? Can you show me how to do that? And I'm like, I don't know how to show you how to do that on Instagram, but on the webinar, what we're going to do is go over all these different time management techniques that you can use, whether you're in school, preparing for school, or even in your professional life. I mean, you use this every day of my life. And at the end, I'm going to go through an actual, taking you through a demonstration of how to time block and the tools that I use, and actually show you, like when you have your task list, how to actually plan it out and all the things that go along with that. So before we get started, I want to tell you just a little bit about Atomic. And I know you guys, a lot of you have followed us from social media, so you know a little bit about what we're doing. So Sachi and I started Atomic probably about a year ago, and we launched last summer. We are practicing CRNAs still, and we are educators. And we founded Atomic because we wanted to provide an educational platform that was led by CRNAs, owned by CRNAs. And we wanted to focus on a couple core values of Atomic, which was we wanted to remain really creative and innovative with the education. Though education, the way that we're teaching education is changing and shifting, right? And some people want to hold on to those traditional techniques, those like death by PowerPoint techniques, right? And whereas learners are shifting to maybe wanting a little bit more bite-sized videos or wanting some more micro learning. And so we're wanting to shift along with those learners, and we want to be really creative and innovative while we do it. Like we were mentioning the TXA video, like we want to be really entertaining when it comes to education. Education should be fun. It shouldn't be painful. It shouldn't be boring. We can take and teach the same concepts that you're learning in a way that is really entertaining and fun. One thing that we've noticed with our nurse anesthesia resident community and RN community is that sometimes when you're in these programs, it can feel a little lonely. You can feel a little isolated, and you're going through these tough times, and sometimes you feel like you're by yourself. You're the only one that's going through it. And one of the things that we really value is making sure that we continue to foster community amongst one another, that we network with one another across the nation. And that's how we stay strong as a profession, but also, you know, that helps our mental health to have these social circles. So we're trying to, part of this webinar is trying to foster that community. And then, of course, me and Sachi being academics, we want to maintain academic integrity. We want to make sure that our information is as accurate as possible, that we have good sources, and that we're maintaining this integrity throughout our material that we produce. So we want to support you as clinicians. We know most of you or all of you are on this journey to becoming CRNAs, and we want to support you throughout that entire journey. What's fun about this webinar today is that we are doing a giveaway. So we have our pharmacology course, our cardiac pharmacology course that's really great for our residents and for RNs that are preparing for CRNA school. This is taught at a graduate level. There are 9 modules, probably about 25 or so lessons, and we've had really, really good feedback on it so far. I don't know if anybody on the call has already gone through the course or listened to some of the course, and tell me what you think about it. You can say bad things too. It's okay. I have thick skin. Anybody on the call that has gone through the course already? Kylie, did I see you raise your hand?
Octavia, Haley, love it so far. Ray, hi Ray.
I'm not
Maria,
looking at the chat.
I did, started it, yes. quite a few.
Yeah, awesome. So, our really good friend Keith Weiland is on the call. He's a very, very experienced CRNA, an amazing mentor. He is also the federal political director of PANA, that's the Pennsylvania ANA, and he purchased a course to donate to one of y'all tonight, and we'll do the giveaway at the end of the webinar today. So stick around for that. So Keith, do you want to say a couple words or just say hi to everyone?
Yeah, I can just say hi. I am here more just trying to support the community and, of course, Atomic. I think this is super fun. Um, what I want to also commend is just this sense of the community and networking, which Rhea, I've been kind of hounding her for the past, I don't know, a couple of years, just reaching out, kind of picking her brain. And it's great to be able to share ideas and know that people are kind of in the same boat. And this right now is, I think, that cutting edge of doing that instead of being afraid to speak out and talk to each other. You have this community right here that's a touch of a button. So take advantage. It's huge. You're going to need it going forward. Our profession is only growing and in higher demand, and we need to lean on each other. So take advantage of this. This is awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Keith, and thanks for the giveaway. I'm sure whoever wins it is going to really get a lot out of it. Awesome. So we, Sachi earlier asked you all where you're from, so we'll skip to the next one. So I'm curious, where are you at in your career? So are you an RN that's currently applying? Are you an RN waiting to start? Junior, senior, experienced CRNA, something else? First
Junior,
year,
junior, first
junior,
year, second
second
year,
year. Uh-huh. Lots of first years.
lots
Awesome.
of
Second
first
years,
years,
waiting to start. Congratulations.
starting in
Starting in
May.
May. Yay. That's exciting.
All right,
Six
we've got the
month
gamut.
old ICU nurse submitting applications now. That's awesome. That's great. Everyone's in like this whole trajectory, this big, which is awesome because we can always, like Keith said, lean on one another at each part of your journey. I'm curious, and Sachi's curious too. Why did you sign up for this webinar? It could just be a couple words, or what are you hoping to get out of the webinar? We're curious as to what motivated you to sign up. Take any advice I can get. Yep. Podcast. Thank you. Balance, tips on time management, help with time management. Yep. Oh, quality. You're sweet. Program director recommended it. Oh, you guys are sweet. Thank you. Awesome, awesome. Thank you guys for the answers. I always like it's hard when you have 100 people on here for everybody to be talking at the same time, but the chat works out really well. So let's do an overview of what we're going to learn today. We're going to talk about your pain points and your constraints, right? We're going to go over 10 time management techniques that a lot of different professionals use that are really, really strong in the productivity side of things. And we're going to do a deeper dive into one of them in particular, which is time blocking. It's an actual technique that you can learn and use. I use it literally every day. I've been doing it for years, and it just keeps me on the path that I need to be on to accomplish the goals that I need to accomplish. It becomes particularly important when you have large long-term projects as well. So in graduate school, you're going to have your DNP projects. You can't get that done in one sitting, right? You're going to need 30 sittings, you're going to need 50 sittings. And how do you kind of manage that and plan that all out? And then we'll do some giveaway, our giveaway announcement at the end. So we'll just start with this. Until we can manage time, we can manage nothing else. And that is so true in anything in your life. You really can't manage anything else in your life until you get the time part down, right? Or else life feels like chaos. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. When I went to CRNA school about 12 years ago, gosh, I can't believe it's been that long. It was a master's program at the time, so 30 months, so about 2.5 years. And then I'm graduating this May from my PhD program, which took me 5 years full time. So total, I've been in grad school for a long time. So I could tell you that time management techniques, learning how to be productive and manage it all was essential, right? One of the requirements to graduate a PhD program, actually the only requirement to graduate a PhD program, is to publish 2 articles. That's most PhD programs require that. Um, and while I was in my PhD program, and this is not to brag, this is just to show you how productive I was during my PhD program. I got a 4.0 in both degrees. I published 5 times with 3 more that are in review, so I will publish 8 in total. I wrote a textbook. I went to 4 to 5 conferences a year and spoke at most of them, and most of them were national or international. I taught at 4 different anesthesia programs. I am the mom of 2 young children, so I started school when they were in kindergarten and they're in 5th grade now. I started a nonprofit. I started a journal. I started a business. I do bench research. I work as a CRNA a day a week. I mentor lots of people, and I'm a content creator. So, talk about being productive, right? And people constantly ask me, how the heck do you do all of that? And they think I'm some super person, superwoman. And the truth is that I am a master of time management. That's what it comes down to, is being able to learn these productivity techniques is the key to accomplishing so much work. And I'm proud of what I've done, and I'm proud of the discipline that I have, maintained over a long period of time to do the work that I've done. And so I do truly think that I'm an expert at this and a good person to teach you a lot of the techniques that I've learned throughout the years and kind of honed throughout the years to be able to produce so much work, right? To get so much more done, to 30x the people that are in the same cohort as me. And so let's dive right into it. What is time management? It's this process of planning and exercising conscious control over the time that you spend on your activities to enhance the effectiveness, efficiency, and productivity. It involves organizing, prioritizing, scheduling, and making the best use of your time that allows you to achieve your goals while minimizing stress and maximizing your output. That sounds pretty amazing, right? And it sounds kind of simple in some ways, but it's nearly impossible for a lot of people to do it because people have never actually learned it, right? It's not a skill that people that you're getting taught in graduate school. And honestly, this should be one of your first lectures when you enter grad school is how to learn all these techniques. So what's the issue? There's a lot to study, right? There's a lot of information. You have a lot of work to do, and there's not enough time to get it done. That's how it always feels, right? There's no time for yourself or no time for you, your family members, or your friends. You haven't really learned how to stop procrastinating. You know it's a problem for you, but you just don't know how to overcome it, right? You have a hard time focusing, or you're easily distracted. You have trouble meeting deadlines, or you're chronically stressed or anxious about your tasks or your to-do lists, and then everything becomes last minute. If any of this resonates with you, raise your hand, because it does for me, because I was like this at one point in my life, and sometimes I get like this too. It's not perfect, right? Something on this list you resonate with at some point, right? That's why you're here. So, what are our goals when it comes to time management? Well, we want to meet the demands of graduate school, right? It's extremely demanding, or your professional career. You want to be able to prioritize those tasks, minimize your distractions, improve your focus. You want to learn some time-saving tools or techniques. You want to be able to balance your professional responsibilities with your personal life, and you want to develop some practical strategies. But once again, you have constraints, right? You have a lot of material to tackle. You have low energy. You're high stress, high anxiety. You have personal responsibilities. You might feel like at times your health is declining. I had horrible GI problems when I was in CRNA school. I now have chronic migraines all the time. Yeah, health is like a real thing that distracts you from productivity. You have clinical and class that takes up most of your day. And like I said, you never really learned proper time management and productivity hacks. So I kind of break up time management and productivity into 10 main categories. And literally each one of these categories, I could make a whole podcast episode on or write a whole book about, right? So, and a lot of these things are going to overlap as well. So we're going to go over these 10 things. Some of them we're going to go in a little bit more depth than others. Some of them we're going to kind of cover a little bit more shallowly. But I would say that these are the 10 things that go into time management, right? It's your mindset or your attitude. You have to have goals and plan out how you're going to achieve those goals because you need purpose. Why learn time management? Why be productive? You need purpose for that. Simpler things like to-do lists, prioritizing hell yeah or no, when to say no, how to maintain focus versus eliminate distraction, how to have discipline and follow through, how to have protected time for yourself and your family. We'll talk about energy, and then lastly, we'll do some time blocking demonstrations. So let's first go over mindset and attitude. And Sachi is monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions, just throw them in the chat and she'll read them out loud. So I'm gonna go over mindset and attitude before we do anything else. And keep in mind that, as I'm going through this lecture, I might say things to you that might feel maybe a little triggering because I might be calling you out a little bit, right? But I think that as somebody that's like your best friend, um, there are times where your best friend is going to just nod and agree with you because that's what best friends do, right? Even though you're like acting like a fool. And then there's like other times where your best friend is gonna call you out when you're acting like a fool, right? So this is gonna be like a tough love kind of lecture, right? But just know that I really want you to learn these techniques because I really care about your future and your journey, and I think that these things are really important. So let's talk about mindset. Now, keep an open mind when I tell you some of these techniques. And I'll tell you a story about when people ask me, well, how do you stay so productive? What are some of the things that you do? And I say, well, I think one of the things that I do that's really important for productivity for me, I'm not saying for you, but for me, is that I get up at 4 a.m. And because my kids don't get up till 6 a.m. So I need those 2 hours of protected time for myself to take care of myself to either exercise or maybe get a little bit of work done before my day starts. But before I can even get all of that out, people will automatically cut me off and just say, 4 a.m., forget it. That's not happening. And I always say to them, well, I thought you were asking me about how to be great, not mediocre. I thought you were asking me on tips how you can be different this year. Or I thought you were asking me on tips on how to succeed, not just survive, right? So if you hear some of these techniques, I would say keep an open mind. Don't automatically dismiss it and kind of consider the possibility of doing it and maybe even give it an honest try, right? And I'll show you some techniques as to how. I'm not saying give 4 a.m. an honest try. I'm just saying a lot of the techniques that I tell you on here, just keep an open mind to it. The other mindset thing I would tell you is we have complete control over our time. We own our time, right? The fact that you're in school and you have to do these things, that's your choice to be in school and do those things, right? So once you get into the mindset of saying, I have complete control over it, then it doesn't control you. That's the mindset that I have over, it, right? Don't let your schedule control you. You control your schedule. You control your life, right? And I always tell myself too that it's not that I don't have time for something, it's that it's not a priority for me, right? Because if somebody put a gun to my head and said, you have to do this thing or else I'll shoot you, I will find a way to do it, right? You can find a way to do something if it's a priority for you. So it's never that you don't have time, it's just that it's not a priority. And that's okay. We need to just accept that, right? The other thing is just be honest with yourself. If there are times where you're really distracted, you need to identify those things and figure out how to create systems to overcome those things, right? So you have to be honest with yourself. The third thing I would say with mindset is you have a choice to be satisfied. So it really is easy to feel constantly dissatisfied at the end of the day because you'll feel like you didn't do anything when you probably did. You probably did a lot, right? But it just you have this overwhelming feeling at the end of every day that it wasn't enough. So it doesn't change the way or it doesn't change the amount of work that you put in. It just makes you feel bad, right? So we need to at the end of the day feel good about the work that we've done and feel satisfied at the end of the day and feel like tomorrow is another day, right? So I would say that those are the three mindset techniques to kind of like approach time management. So be open-minded, give it an honest try. Remember, you have complete control over your schedule and of your life, and feel good about the work that you do. And tomorrow is another day. And I would say life is a 24-hour job, right? It's like nursing, right? You're handing off to the different shifts, right? You do the best you can to get everything you can get done in 12 hours, but really nursing is 24 hours, right? Somebody else has got to keep it going. I mean, life's the same way, right? The next day you're keeping it going. So don't feel bad about not being able to clear your to-do list because it's impossible. You can't, right? It's just going to keep growing. So let's go into goals and planning. And this is the purpose of your productivity. So, what does goal setting or planning do? It gives you clarity and focus. So, when you set clear goals, it really does provide a structured framework for you that helps you filter out a lot of these distractions and focus on the tasks that really do matter. It allows you to, when you have a goal, it serves as like a benchmark in which you can measure your progress. You can be more efficient. So when you have specific goals, you can break them into smaller goals and more manageable tasks, and that helps you plan your time more efficiently. Prioritization. So when you have well-defined goals, it makes it easier to assess the goals that are going to align with the tasks that are going to align with your goals and which do not. It helps you develop motivation and discipline, and then also consistency, habits, and routines. So I'll give you an example. So it's spring 2025. You might have some goals like I want to achieve a GPA of 3.5 or greater this semester. I want to complete my term paper a week before the deadline because finals are due the same time. So I want to focus on finals. So I want to get that term paper out of the way. And then I want to go to the gym 3 times a week and I want to pack all my lunches during the week because I'm trying to stay healthy and save money, right? I think those are like manageable goals, right? You can do that. It's a lot, but you can do it. You got to make sure, I'm sure you've heard this before, is that when you set a goal, it has to be very specific. So it can't be like, I want to, like can't be so unspecific, like I want to do well in school. It's like, okay, like what is that means something different to different people, right? So you have to be very clear and well defined. You got to make sure it's measurable. You got to make sure it's challenging yet attainable, right? You don't want to go set a goal that is just impossible, but you do want it to challenge you. You want to give yourself a clear timeline and you importantly want to make it actionable, right? You want to make it have manageable steps. Yeah, the SMART goals. I probably have them in the wrong order, right? But it's the same thing. So what does that look like? So, okay, let's take one example. Let's take the term paper example, right? So my goal is to complete my 15-page term paper a week before the deadline because remember, finals are at the same time and I want to get this paper out of the way because I just want to focus on finals because I know at the end of the semester it's just going to be crazy and I'm going to be exhausted and I just want to get it done, right? Good goal to have, right? So you're here. It's like the beginning of January and your term paper is due like, I don't know, first week of May. And so you want to turn it in around here. So this is literally what happens because I know because I do this too. I have time, right? We all I mean that's the first fallacy is that I have time, right? And you guys ever you're probably not old enough, but have you ever watched this show called Scrubs? It's like a okay, do you remember Dr. Cox? He was singing this song, Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong. Okay, if you've ever seen the show, it's like my favorite show. Yeah, you're wrong. You don't have time because what ends up happening is that you start scheduling, you put all your exams in your calendar, and you put all your assignments in your calendar, and then your personal stuff like Susie wants to get married this weekend, I got to go away, travel somewhere, you have personal commitments, whatever. You put your clinical stuff in there, now your schedule's looking really crazy, and then you're like, what the heck? So even just the fact that you have an exam the next week and you just started, you already feel like I got to focus on that. I can't focus on my term paper, right? So what ends up happening is you're busy, I'm busy, right? And so you don't start looking at it until here, and then you panic because you're like, "Oh crap, this is a lot of work. This is going to take me a long time." So how do we kind of approach something like this, a goal like this? I mean, am I the only one? You've done this at least one point in your life, right? In undergrad, at least, where you've like waited to the last minute to tackle like a really big project like that. When you have a long-term project like this, you want to break things into smaller chunks because the way that I see it is that I want to have a bunch of small wins, right? When an expert or a professional would approach, like, say, running a marathon, right? They don't just say, I'm just going to run 26 miles. Now they say, I'm going to run 5 miles 5 times because they're small wins. They're like little celebrations throughout the whatever, the event or whatever you're doing. So you got to break it up into small chunks. Then you got to set your deadline and work backwards. And you got to give yourself a bunch of internal deadlines, right? Nobody's going to keep you accountable for those internal deadlines but you. But you need to set them because you need to give yourself some kind of deadline to get each of these little chunks done. Then you're going to estimate the number of sessions that it's going to take you to meet that deadline. And I'll go over what that means in a session. But I see a session as a period of deep work. So maybe a 2 hour time block where you're going to really do a deep dive. I'm going to write for 2 hours straight, right? You're going to count the number of sessions that's going to take, add a little bit of extra. Maybe you get a GI bug or whatever, and you want to account for that. And then you got to look at the number of weeks that you have, and you got to map out your sessions. It seems like a lot because it is. So we have a term paper here. We have our tasks, right? And I'm going to estimate the tasks, number of hours, and how many sessions that's going to take. So my tasks are going to be I got to research my topic and I save my articles, right? That's one win right there. I'm going to outline my term paper, win number two. I'm going to read through my articles. I'm going to write section one. I'm going to write section two. I'm going to write my intro and conclusion. I'm going to proofread and edit. I'm going to turn in my paper. So then I went through, I'm like, how long does this take me? Something like this, 4 to 6 hours, about 3 hours, about 6 to 8 hours. Um, you don't have to be perfect. You have to estimate how much time. And so if I break this up into 2 hour chunks, I'm going to say, well, this is going to take me 3 sessions to get this done and 2 sessions to get this done. And do the math. That's about 21 sessions. You want to add a couple extra. So let's say 25 sessions just in case something happens halfway through the semester. And say the semester's 16 weeks long, right? So you have 25 sessions over 16 weeks. That means you need to do 1.5 sessions a week. So some weeks you're going to do 1 session, some weeks you're going to do 2 sessions. Does that make sense? How you're trying to map that out? And so now you have your internal deadline of May 1st. And so you want to work backwards from there. You want to set your deadlines maybe 2 weeks apart from there. So you're like, okay, my first deadline for myself is January 29th, and I need to get this stuff done, right? January 29th. So what I do is I start mapping out all my internal deadlines, right? And like I said, they're internal because nobody's going to come to you and say, hey, did you get this done? It's you, right? You're doing this for yourself. So you're mapping out your internal deadlines, and then you're going to put in your sessions. So I'm like, okay, some weeks I got to do one, some weeks I got to do two. These are 2 hour time blocks. And so what happens when you start materializing this all out is you start to realize, A, I need to dedicate time to this every week and sometimes 2 times a week. And B, it's going to start to become a routine. So maybe every Sunday between 9 and 11, I got to go to the coffee shop and do this thing, right? And this is something that I'm doing every week. And then every other Wednesday, I need to, when I get out of clinical, go to the coffee shop and work on this. And what ends up happening over time is that you feel really good about each week because you've accomplished these like little wins, throughout the week, and you get these little internal deadlines. You start feeling less stressed about it because you're celebrating your mini wins. I like to do that all the time because those like big wins don't come very often. So you got to celebrate the mini wins all the time, right? Because you need something to. I was telling Keith like sometimes it's a slow. I was telling him today. I said sometimes it feels like a slow clap in an empty auditorium for a long time for yourself. You're just sitting there. Nobody's there doing it for you. It's just you by yourself, right? And so like I said, nobody's going to hound you. Nobody's going to keep you accountable. You got to do this for yourself, right? This is for you. You got to win for yourself. So that's everything that I have to say right now about goals and planning. And that's just giving you a practical example of what that actually looks like. I know it's a lot, but it's so necessary when you get to the graduate level. So let's go into to-do lists, right? Everybody's got a to-do list. We're so good at to-do lists. But the problem is we're not good at managing our to-do lists. Like we're good at writing them and then we're good at rewriting them and not actually getting stuff off of it, right? So how do we kind of manage this? Your brain is for thinking, not for storing tasks. Okay. So as soon as you have a task that pops into your mind, get rid of it from your brain so you're not worried about, remembering it. Get rid of it right away into some kind of repository. You're going to have master lists and you're going to have daily lists. We'll talk about that. And the last thing, maybe another mindset thing, is you're never going to complete it. So just get over it. Okay. It's not going to go to zero. It's just when you get stuff done, more stuff's going to get added to it, right? It's a continuous cycle. So, like, you're always constantly stressed that, hey, I can never get through my to-do list. It's never getting to zero. It ain't. You're in grad school now and you're a professional, right? So that to-do list is just going to be ever, and this would stress me out for, I think this stressed me out for literally like 15 years. Like, why can't I get it to zero? There's always stuff adding to it. And I finally got over it. I was like, that's just my life, right? Like I said, you want to have a quick access repository. If you're maybe not when you're driving, but like if you're at the gym and like something pops into your head, right? And you're on the treadmill, okay, whatever. What I like to do is just use a simple notes app and I have my to-do list pinned at the top here. And anytime I think of something, I just pop it in. Offload your brain, get rid of it immediately. So you're going to start just compiling your stuff on here throughout your day, right? So you're not stressed about it. It's safe. Okay, your brain's not going to forget about it. And you're going to keep this on your phone at all times. You then want to create a master to-do list. Your master to-do list has everything. You do not want this to be a physical thing. This is not something you physically write in a journal. This must be digital because this is constantly changing and evolving. It's constantly being updated. It's just going to keep going on forever. So the best thing that I like to use is Google Calendar. It's free, it's accessible, it's easy to update, it's super neat and organized. And this is literally what mine looks like. Your life has to be segmented into different aspects of your life, right? So it comes with a drop-down list right here. And when it drops down, I have my kids and my personal stuff that goes in there. Anything related to my schoolwork, my PhD. My big project right now is getting my textbook published, so I have lots of tasks to that. My nonprofit, my business, and all of my CRNA related tasks. Okay, this is just every aspect of my life, right? And so this is my master to-do list. It's always changing and always evolving. Next, you want to have your daily to-do list. Okay, be realistic, right? Like that master to-do list ain't getting done on Monday, right? That thing's constantly evolving. So you need to pick 3 to 5 of those tasks max, and you're going to prioritize them and you're going to time block them. We're going to be talking about time block in a little bit. And so this is like if you want to do something physical with this, like that's fine. I mean, I keep a little like pocket size like journal that's like this big that it has my daily stuff, or I even sometimes just keep an index card. It is satisfying to cross something off, right? Click up. Yes, you could do digital, you could whatever. Like some people still like physically like scratching something out. I get it. Yeah, like yeah, some start using Trello. So there's lots of tools out there. But I would say definitely your master has to be digital. Your daily can be digital or physical, whatever you like to do. So that's to-do lists. We're going to then come back to to-do lists when we talk about time blocking. So keep all this in mind. These next ones, we're going to go through them a little bit more quickly because they kind of overlap with the other things, but just, still important concepts. So prioritizing, choosing the most important tasks. I like this quote. One always has time enough if one will apply it well. I really like that. And that definitely goes in with prioritizing. So you can't do it all, right? You're not going to clear your entire to-do list in a day, so you got to pick 3 to 5 to focus on. You got to do this based on your goals and your upcoming deadlines, so you have to choose what's most important to that day. I really like Ali Abdal. Have you guys heard of him? He's a YouTuber. He used to be a physician, but he's now a full-time YouTuber. All of his content is about productivity and time management. It's excellent. He's a really good speaker. He really makes, yeah, he has a good book too. I forget what his book is called. If you know the name of the book, drop it in the chat. He talks about like having one daily adventure, which is like your main big task of the day, and then having like little side quests. And he tries to make it fun, make it like a little game or whatever, which is kind of cute. And then, like I said, once you've chosen those tasks that you need to tackle, you have to time block it. Meaning you have to put it in your schedule. 3 to 5, I'm going to do task one. 6 to 7, I'm going to do task two, so on and so forth. The next thing is hell yeah or no. So, what's worth doing? And this goes off of the book called Hell Yeah or No. And the whole summary of the book is you're trying to figure out what's worth your time when an opportunity comes your way. Okay. You can't say hell yeah or no to your exams, right? Like you have to do those things. But, things come up throughout the semester that seem like good opportunities and they seem like they could be good idea. But if your immediate answer is not hell yes, I'm super excited about it. I want to do this. Like this is such a great opportunity. And you're kind of like, like I'm like maybe it's a no. Okay? From here on out, it's a no until you graduate. Then you could start, saying yes to things again. So, number two, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Okay. So, you're going to commit this to yourself. Like, I'm going to start saying no pretty often. I mean, it's the reason why I made this shirt. Sorry, can't see CRNA school. Bye. Because we're saying no to stuff. Okay. Now, there's going to be a time in your career later on where you might have to say yes more often, but grad school ain't it. Okay. You might be in a growth phase later on during your career. You might be trying to get to that next milestone. You might be trying to accomplish a lofty goal. One thing that I wanted to accomplish was that I wanted to become more nationally recognized. This was a goal that I set like 3 years ago. You got to start saying yes to things that maybe are potentially good opportunities. You don't know, but that's not you now. Okay. You need to focus on your main goals, which is getting through grad school. People pleasing is out. Okay. It's not cool anymore. I don't think it ever was cool. Okay. So if you're still that person, stop. Okay. You got to protect yourself now, right? You got to say no often. You're going to get constant opportunities from friends, family. It's hard to say no to your kids. That's hard. You talk about like saying no to something that's hard. When you have to tell your kids no, that sucks. Okay? And I'm going to give you a way to get around that because there's one way I talk about protected time. That's how you're going to get around this, okay? The thing that gets me really anxious is, well, if I say no to this opportunity, it might not come around again. That's so not true, okay? If you got that opportunity the first time, you're gonna get it again. Okay? Every time that I was offered a speaking thing and I was like, man, I just don't have the bandwidth to do it, but I'm gonna say yes anyway. Man, I really regretted it because I really didn't have the bandwidth to do it, and then I was just burnt, and then I was doing everything poorly, right? Because I was so burnt, right? And I was thinking, I'm not gonna get that opportunity again. Every year, it's like 10x. It's just gonna keep coming, so don't worry. You're gonna be okay. You will regret it. If you are on the fence about it, you put it on the calendar. Once that thing comes around and you're like, man, this sucks. I got to do this thing that I wasn't really that excited about. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's going to distract you from what your true goals are, right? I call it the shiny object syndrome. We're like, ooh, squirrel, right? That's not getting you towards your true goals, right? That's just distracting you. Okay. Focus. Talk about distraction. Okay. Mom was right. It's the phone, which is some comment I saw on Instagram or keep saying, but it's true, right? It's the phone. The phone is killing us. You can't focus because you're constantly distracted. It's the truth. Okay. You got to be honest with yourself about what your biggest distractions are in your life. A lot of people, it's the phone, the social media. It could be that your house is messy. It's hard for you to start writing your paper until you start folding all the laundry and cleaning the house. And we do that sometimes to kind of like put off starting the thing because it's, or it makes us anxious that our house is a mess, right? It took me a long time to be like, you know what? The dishes are just gonna be dirty. The laundry is just not gonna get folded because this other stuff takes a priority. Okay. But it's distracting. How you physically feel, I'm hungry, I have pain, I have migraines. How you emotionally feel, I'm stressed, I'm anxious. Those are distractions. Your relationships, your spouse, whatever, can be distracting. And once again, the shiny object syndrome. So, how do we maintain focus? The problem is people think that this is just an innate thing. This is a thing that should just come naturally. And that's so far from the truth, right? When you focus, this is a learned skill, just like anything else that you can develop and that you can hone. But you have to learn how to do it first. And it does take time and it does take practice to develop. One of the things that it requires you to develop are systems. Okay. And we'll talk about systems in a little bit. And those systems then become habits. Or maybe you need to learn ways to break your bad habits. So, learning systems, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about systems when I talk about my 4 a.m., how I kind of got into that. I read a lot of books and listened to a lot of YouTube videos and listened to a lot of podcasts about this topic. And these are, like I said, Ali Abdaal, but also Cal Newport is an expert in this. I think he kind of was the first person to really talk about time blocking. He talks a lot. I love this book. Yeah, Atomic Habits. That's a great book too. I read this book, Deep Work. I read this book, World Without Email. I haven't read this book yet, but I heard that that one was good too. So read about it on your all your spare time. Do all of this pleasure reading. But they talk about how to learn focus and how to learn these skills. And one of the things that I really like about this book is that it starts taking the work that you do, the work that's on your to-do list, it can be divided into these two things. You either have deep work or you have shallow work, and then you absolutely need periods of rest. It's completely required because you need periods where your brain is completely bored. And I don't mean rest like you're playing on your phone. I mean like rest like you're a little bored or you're going for a walk or having recovery so that you can then dive back into that deep work again. And so what does that look like? Deep work is what you need, like studying. Okay. It takes a lot of mental capacity to do that, a lot of focus. Writing a paper, tons and tons of focus. Okay. Shallow work is like answering your emails, getting organized, making flashcards, making phone calls, doing paperwork. It doesn't take a lot of brain power. They're just tasky things they'd have to get done. Complete mental rest looks like eating without looking at your phone, just eating. Okay. Meditating. It could be as little as 15 minutes twice a day, even once a day. Listening to music. I love listening to music. Um, People hate being bored nowadays, but you need to be a little bored sometimes so you can dive back into this part. Okay. Because you need this to do this. You need to have those periods of rest. Sometimes I just like to drive in complete silence because it's just need no podcast, nothing. You need your brain to just rest. Sometimes I do active recovery. So I might leave that messy housework for times when I'm having active recovery. Like I'll say, okay, I'm going to leave that laundry, those dishes for my active recovery phase when I'm trying to take a break from the deep work. Why is this important? The deep work is actually what moves your goals forward, not the shallow work. And obviously not the mental rest, but you need this to do this. It's only this that actually helps you achieve your goals. But a lot of people try to avoid this by doing lots of this. Okay. And what ends up happening is that you're busy just to be busy. you're not actually moving a step towards your goals. You're feeling like, okay, well, yeah, you had to do some of this stuff and you felt like you were productive that day, but you actually didn't take a step further towards that big goal that you're trying to accomplish. And that in order to get there, you need to do deep, deep mental work. So, what does your day look like? Kind of like this. You wake up, you're kind of rested, you do a little bit of shallow work. You take a quick break. You do a long period of deep work. You do a little shallow work, you take a break. You do another long period of deep work. You take a longer break, some shallow work, and maybe some active recovery. Practically, what does that look like? Okay. So I woke up and I answered emails for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I took a quick rest. I'm allowed to check my phone during that quick rest. Now I'm going to study pharmacology for 2 hours straight. No distractions, 2 hours straight. After those 2 hours are up, my timer goes up. I'm going to use that time to then organize my lectures for 30 minutes. Looks like a bad CO2. Yeah, it kind of does. You're gonna think about your deep work and shallow work next time you're in the OR. All right, so you're gonna organize your lectures. Now, busy work, right? It's not actually doing much towards like maybe getting a good grade on your exam needs to be done, but it gives you a little bit of a mental rest, complete rest. Deep work again. So I'm going to write outlines for an hour. I'm going to read my articles. I'm going to do lunch for 30 minutes. I'm going to make flashcards. People think making flashcards is deep work. It's not. It's shallow work. Okay. Because you're not learning when you're making flashcards. You're just making flashcards. Do you see the difference? It's like busy work, kind of. Because it's not until you do the flashcards that it becomes deep work. And then I might do a period of active recovery. So I might fold my laundry and go walk my dog. The another part about deep work is that deep work requires single tasking. Okay. Single tasking is vogue, multitasking is out. Okay. We don't do multitasking anymore, right? The studies say that about a third of your day is lost to multitasking. Okay. So when you do a task, you should only do that task. If you go to the gym, you shouldn't be scrolling on your phone at the same time. You just go to the gym. Okay. Don't try to do a bunch of these activities all at the same time. The single tasking is much more efficient, and it is so true. It is much more efficient and allows you to get a lot more done during the day so that you don't have to play catch up at night because you're so much more efficient. You're just getting the stuff done so that your nights are times to just wind down, your weekends are times to, do a little work, but mostly relax. Let's talk about the phone a little bit more. I feel like I'm like my son all the time with these dang Nintendo Switch. So, and I'm guilty of it too. I'm not saying that I'm like holier than thou. I have a problem with this too. Okay, especially with running a social media account. So I'm telling you things that I have to do to kind of decrease my addiction on the phone. When you're doing periods of that deep work, your phone needs to be out of reach, in a different room, silenced, can't does not distract you at all. And then when you're doing that deep work, you're going to set yourself a timer. And so for 1 hours, you could do Pomodoro, or I just set a timer on my computer or whatever. So I set a timer for like an hour, 2 hours, and I cannot touch my phone until that timer goes off. That's like a treat. It's like a treat for me. Like I get like that little reward at the end. Like I was able to go 2 hours without it. During your time breaks that you have breaks, you also want to set a timer for this as well. So a 15-minute break. Do not waste that entire break on your phone because you still need that mental rest. Okay. You don't feel rested if you've been scrolling on social media and you go back into deep work. So 5 minutes max and then hop back off of it. And if you're really, really bad at it, and I literally have to do this sometimes, put your phone in grayscale. It just when you get rid of the color, it's boring. It really is. Like social media is not as fun when it's in black and white. And you want to just delete the app. Okay. You're not deleting your Instagram. You just gotta make it harder to get to when you delete that app. I'll send out these slides afterwards, but if you want to learn how to put it on grayscale, here are the steps to do it. You're just changing a color filter. And look, it's just not as fun when it's in black and white. So if that's a technique that you need to do, I literally have to do that sometimes because I was like, when my brain just cannot stop hitting the Instagram button. That brings us into discipline and follow through. So topic number 7. So we're getting there towards the end. I like this quote also. So, time is the most valuable thing that a man can spend. I think that's so true, right? It's the thing that you spend that you can never get back, ever, right? Is your time. It's just gone forever. And I like to, when I talk about discipline, I also like to mention motivation, right? 'Cause motivation is when you're doing the work when you want to do it, when it's fun, when it's exciting, when you feel inspired to do it, right? That's when you're motivated, right? You hear some really, maybe you might feel motivated after this talk, I don't know. And you feel inspired to do these things. But discipline's so different. Discipline is when you do the work when you don't want to do it, when it's boring, when it's exhausting, when it's not fun, when it's hard. That's discipline, is like you're doing it no matter what. And how do you kind of develop this discipline over time? How do you maintain follow through? I think going back to that the mindset thing in the beginning is like being honest with yourself and figuring out what your biggest blockers are to maintaining discipline. Is it how you feel, your uncertainty, your fear, your anxiety? If you constantly procrastinate, why? A lot of it has to do with anxiety, or sometimes it's just hard, that inertia. It's hard to just get started. And I know a lot of times, like even when you think of the gym, you go in the gym, like you feel good when you're done. Man, did it suck to try to get there, right? You got to get a lot of systems in place to kind of get you started. And so that goes back to when you talk about systems. How did I develop the discipline to get out of bed at 4 a.m.? Um, it sucked. It was hard to be, but I knew I needed to do that because that was the time that I needed for myself. And what the habit I was doing before is I was using my phone as my alarm. And what I would do is when my alarm would go off, maybe I'd hit snooze a couple times, but then I'd pick up my phone and scroll on social media for 45 minutes. I just wasted like an hour that I could have just get my butt out of bed and start doing something. And I did this, I think I did that for 6 months straight. And I was like, this is a problem. Like, I need to stop doing this. So how do I do this? Yeah, time flies when you're scrolling. Ain't that the truth? I started putting my phone on a charger in the kitchen, and have you guys seen this before? The sunrise alarm clock. Have you ever seen this before? Sunrise. It's amazing. You set it for like 30 minutes before you actually want to get out of bed. And what it does is the light just starts slowly turning on and filling the room before the alarm actually goes off. And a lot of times you'll wake up before that alarm goes off. And it's so gentle too. You don't feel pissed off when that alarm goes off. You feel like, oh, it's a nice gentle wake up. Okay. It feels good. And then your body starts getting used to kind of slowly getting up out of bed before that time goes off. Systems also means making the inertia kind of a little bit less, right? So I put my gym clothes right next to my bed. They're ready to go. And even my shoes, I have dedicated indoor shoes. So I have a little setup down in my basement. So if like, well, my clothes are there ready for me to go and I have a water bottle ready, like you just get up and put your clothes on, right? You start getting moving. So getting those systems in place to kind of decrease that inertia a little bit. Accountability is huge, right? If you're really struggling, find a mentor, study groups that keep you accountable, gym buddies that keep you accountable, right? It's easy to say maybe later to yourself. It's hard to say maybe later to a friend. If that's what you need, that's what you need is to have some kind of accountability. Number 8, protected time. So this is your dedicated time for you, for fun, for rest, and you need to have this protected time. A man who dares to waste 1 hour of time has not discovered the value of life. This might be my most favorite quote out of all of it, right? If you dare to waste an hour of time, protected time is not wasted time. Protected time is time for you. And knowing that it's on the calendar and something to look forward to helps you work harder during that time period that you need to work harder. So it's time where you can do whatever you want. Knowing that you have protected time on the schedule gives you something to look forward to. It truly does improve your relationship with your friends, your kids, and your spouse. When my spouse and when he was in medical school and I was in CRNA school, we had date night every Thursday night. And we were so busy, we barely saw each other, but we knew that Thursday night was our protected time. We were not going to schedule anything during that time. And no matter what, we'd go on a date night. So it was actually fine that we didn't see each other or spend that much time with each other during the week because we were so busy with grad school because we knew Thursday was around the corner, right? So having that protected time. Kids, same thing. My daughter constantly interrupting me in the office during periods of deep work. I need that time, okay? I can't be interrupted during that time. But knowing that she has protected time every night between 6 and 8 o'clock, she knows not to bother me during those times of deep work. And that was just our relationship that we have. We still continue today. She knows that during these periods, I can't be bothered because she has protected time during these time periods, right? And kids will leave you alone. It's like one of the best parenting hacks that I ever learned was giving and keeping your promise too. I always kept my promise to my kids that that was protected time. So it makes sure that you get that deep rest during the week, something to look forward to, and then during periods where you have to work hard, you have to work hard because you know you have that protected time. So your protected time during all your craziness might be your date nights. My husband and I, like every other week now, we kind of have these protected date nights here where we have the sitter already scheduled. You have your personal time. I don't know, whenever works for your time. So I might say, okay, every I have protected time for myself to go to therapy. So I might go to therapy every other Monday between 9 and 10. That's my time, right? My protected time is between 4 and 6, where I go to the gym and, get little things done. And then because for me personally, I can't really take a day off, a full day off anymore. So I have to have these like little chunks of protected time, something for me to look forward to. Last little bit here. So energy, the fuel of your productivity. And honestly, and other people say this too, time is actually not the bottleneck. The bottleneck is energy. Trust me on this. If you need to do deep work, that requires a massive amount of energy. You need to be focused. You need to have energy to get through the work. You can't be sleepy or tired or exhausted. And the people that I think that are the most productive live extremely healthy lifestyles because of the whole energy thing. You just need constant energy all the time. So looking at, maintaining proper nutrition. My nutrition goes to crap when I'm ordering out all the time. So the systems I need to put in place are maybe I need a meal prep every Sunday so that I just don't eat garbage or I don't skip meals because I need energy. Um, Developing good sleep hygiene. I'm obsessed with sleep hygiene. Okay. I do not pull all-nighters. And all-nighters, I will say, you need to save them. I would say 1 to 2 a semester max. But this can't be a regular thing. They can't be like a couple times a week kind of thing. It's like you got to save them for when they really matter. But most of the time, you need to practice really good sleep hygiene, especially getting that REM sleep, which really matter. One of the best things that I ever did was cut out alcohol. It's not that I have anything against alcohol. I like alcohol. I enjoy alcohol, but I need every single day to be as productive as can be. And so alcohol for me might be a short-term solution to stress, but long-term, it's going to hurt my productivity because it's going to hurt my energy bank, right? Physical activity, that's a no-brainer. Getting physically active is going to increase your energy. Dealing with your mental health problems and making sure that you address them. And I mean, my graduate student insurance pays for my therapy. So I pay a $20 copay, go to a therapist every other week. It's all connected, right? Your brain, your body, everything is all connected, right? You can't be stressed and anxious about stuff that's distracting. It's going to be a big energy suck. Yeah, vitamin D. I have a vitamin D deficiency too. Caffeine reliance. There's a lot of people that are very, very reliant on caffeine. Um, this is not me telling you what to do. I'm just telling you what worked for me is that when I decreased the amount of caffeine and only used it as a rescue as opposed to a daily high dose kind of thing, my energy improved because there weren't periods of peaks and troughs anymore or messing up with my sleep. It was just constant energy all the time because I wasn't so reliant. And so you have periods where you might be a little exhausted. You might have a cup of coffee now and then, but I see it as a rescue rather than being so reliant on it. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Now, time blocking, the last little bit, and we'll do a little demonstration with this. So, this is how you're going to kind of tie it all together. This is your organization system, okay? This is a productivity technique that involves dividing your day into specific blocks of time. Okay. And each block of time is going to be dedicated to one task. Remember, single tasking, not multitasking. One task and one task only, or maybe a group of related tasks that are done one at a time, but kind of in succession. I'll tell you what I mean in a second. When you do this properly, and this is just an example I found on the internet, but it kind of looks like this. If you do it properly, you're going to be less distracted. You are not going to be unproductive with multitasking. You're going to prioritize your tasks and you're going to have a very clear picture of how you spend your time. What I actually really like about time blocking is that I see all the gaps in my schedule and then I can kind of fill it with like the fun things for myself too. Because I'm like, oh, I actually have a little bit more time than I thought because I've kind of mapped out all the tasks that I need to do. There are a couple popular techniques with this. Okay, the traditional is kind of looks like this, where you're going to divide your day into very specific time blocks for the task. That's what I'm going to demonstrate today. You're going to do task batching. So that's when you take similar tasks and put them together and you're going to complete them in a dedicated block. So I usually do this with shallow tasks. So I say, okay, I have some emails I need to answer and some paperwork that kind of goes along with that. So I might do that in a 1 hour chunk together. Day theming. I actually do this too. I have a little bit more flexibility in my schedule than you do because I'm in academia. So what day theming might look like for you is, hey, Monday is farm day. I'm going to do everything farm. Okay. So I'm going to have a 2 hour time period where I'm studying for my exam. I'm going to flashcards about farm. I'm going to read about farm, like everything farm, farm, farm. If I could have it my way, every day would be farm day, right? So Tuesday is going to be something else. Tuesday is going to be everything like special population. So we're going to do some OB today, right? So that's kind of like turning it into a theme. So all your tasks going to be related to that. Time boxing. So that's when you're going to set a specific limit for completing a task for a large project. So when we talked about writing a term paper, right, you're not going to write a term paper in one sitting. So you're going to time box. You're going to say, okay, for today, I'm only going to do 2 hours, and whatever I get done in those 2 hours is that's it. Okay. So I'm going to write for 2 hours and set my timer. Once that timer goes off, that's it. Drop your pencils. Okay, we're done for today. And then using that Pomodoro timer. So if you have a 2 hour time block, it does help to kind of get up in 25-minute intervals and just kind of stretch for a couple minutes. So once again, lots and lots of tools out there. I mean, there's so many tools. Everybody's got their own tool. I like free, cheap, and easy and accessible. Google Calendar for me. I'm simple. I don't like all that fancy stuff, but you do you. It's fine. On the side here with Google Calendars, if you don't have a digital calendar set up yet and you're still doing physical planners, throw that in the trash. You're too busy for that now. Your schedule is too dynamic and changing all the time. You need to get to digital. It's just absolutely necessary, okay? In grad school, it's stuff is constantly moving and changing, so you want to have something that you can move around. This is what all of my calendars look like. A lot of them are kind of science related, but what you want to do, you have your main calendar, which is this one here, my Rhea Temmerman one. You want to make a separate calendar for time blocking because you want the ability to turn it on and off. Okay, turn it on and off. Remember, I showed you earlier your master to-do list. It's going to be on the side here. And then what you want to do is turn your calendar into a the weekly view, not the monthly view. So I'm going to actually stop sharing here real quick, and I'm going to show you what it looks like on my actual calendar. Kind of map it out for you. Bear with me 1 second as I find the window. This is my actual calendar. So you can see all my personal shiz on here, but it's fine because otherwise it's pretty boring. Okay, February. So you can kind of see I have my little color code thingy that I like. I see Keith Weiland is in my calendar here because we got lunch today. I would say that's my main calendar. So I'm actually going to turn that off and I'm going to turn my time blocking calendar on. And so I didn't time block yet for February because I usually do a week at a time. So we're going to turn it on to my time blocking calendar and I'm going to go to the weekly view. So let's switch to a week that we haven't time blocked yet. Now, I here, you can see on the side, I made a list of like time blocking examples, like t tasks, right? And so you can go through here and you can kind of see what's like a shallow task and a deep task. So like shallow task, I don't know if I would call that, I would call that probably like mental rest. Work on outline, deep task, research articles, deep task, study, deep task. Okay, shallow task, shallow task, kind of like another task you have to do. Okay, so we have the list of tasks that we need to accomplish during the week, and what I start to do is I'll actually turn on my calendar real quick and I'll be like, okay, all these things in here, these like meetings, they can't change. They have to go in my calendar. I like have to continue. I'm meeting with Edwin Oroki. I'm meeting with my PI, Andrea. I have a lab meeting. I'm taking my son to tennis. I'm taking my daughter to gymnastics. Like that can't change, right? So I'm going to just put them in my calendar here. So that's going to be Edwin. Let's just do one day. Okay, let's just do Monday. Um, okay, so we have Monday here. Now for me personally, like I like to from 4 to 5, I like to gym time, and then from 5 to 6, I like to answer emails. That's like my day every day. Okay. My kids get up from at 6 o'clock for so from about 6 to 8, I'm like taking care of them and putting them on the bus. Kids. From here, my commute to Philly is kind of crazy from 8 to 9, so I stopped leaving at that time because I let it cool down a little bit. So I might do another shallow task. So if I look at my shallow tasks, I'm just making this up. Flashcards. Okay, shallow task because I don't have time for deep work. You want to also include things like your commute in there. It's part of your day. When I have my meeting here, and then now I need to start scheduling in time for like a deep task, right? So before I get into that, maybe I want to eat real quick, lunch, for 30 minutes, and then I want to schedule a 2 hour time block for a deep task. So I might say read, research articles. That I should not be interrupted during that time. All this other times, like it's fine, you could be interrupted, but this time, like you need to dedicate that time for yourself. I'm gonna take a 30-minute break, and yes, you have to schedule your breaks in. And then I need to have another time period of deep work. Maybe I need to do my lab work or whatever. I can't be interrupted during that time. And then I might have another time of shallow tasks. So what's one of our shallow tasks on here? I need to do work on I need to schedule meetings. I don't know, call people or whatever. Then I'm going to commute home like that. And from here to here is going to be kids. And then from here to here is going to be spouse. That's what time blocking looks like, is like really mapping out your day. And so when you map out your day, you really see how much time or how little time you have to do a task. So you start to get realistic. So I might say, and I like color coding mine too. So my answering emails, shallow task, I might do this. Kids, green, shallow task, orange, commute is like, I don't know, something like that. Shallow task. Green is time for myself. Deep task, I like blue. Blue, green, time for myself. This is a shallow task. Commute home, kids, spouse. Okay. Whatever coding system that you want. So you're kind of looking at your schedule and you're like, okay, these are my periods of my shallow tasks. These are my periods of deep tasks. Do not interrupt me. Phone off, out of the way. And then I have periods for me, periods for my family, and anything else I want to do. Some days are going to look crazy because they're going to be time blocked all the way through, and then as you start mapping out, you'll start saying, okay, I'm going to the gym 3 days a week. You'll start to see gaps in your schedule, and you're like, oh, okay, like maybe I can squeeze in that thing that I wanted to do because I have a gap here or a gap here. It of course gets more difficult when you're in clinicals because you're like, this whole gap is like clinical, right? So You're like having to like how much earlier can I get up? I already get up at 4 a.m. for clinical, right? That's crazy. So you have to be really efficient about what this period looks like here. You got to be really efficient about what your weekends look like here because clinical might be a lot of hours out of the week. I'm going to pause there and ask you guys if you have any questions about time blocking. You kind of get the gist of it, like the idea of it. And when you time block, I time block a week at a time. And things change, things move. One of the hardest parts about time blocking is actually estimating how long that task will really take. So when people start time blocking, they'll think, I don't know how long it's going to take me. Kind of takes you a while to get used to it, figure out how long that task is. Give yourself some wiggle room. So give yourself some gaps so that if a task's taking a little bit longer, you need to spend an extra 30 minutes on it, that you have that wiggle room. But I would say that um, that is the way that most very high functioning, high productivity people function all the time is you have to use time blocking in order to really look at your day, and you have to have the discipline to stick to it. Okay. So, any questions about that? I'm going to pause real quick while I get set up again with my slides. And like I said before, like no one is going to come by and say, "Hey, just stick to your time block today." It's just you. So you got to do it for yourself. Okay? You got to keep that promise to yourself.
Leanne says, how long does it take you to time block each week?
Um, I would say that it takes me less than 10 minutes because I'm so fast at it. But in the beginning, it's going to probably take you 30 minutes because you are kind of getting used to the system. And you're trying to get a good idea of A, how many tasks can you accomplish that day? B, how long do those tasks realistically take or that you're going to commit to it? Um, and when you start doing it, you're going to make adjustments along the way. So it's a little bit of a learning curve. But once you learn it and you got it, do you time block your time block? It's part of kind of like my shallow tasks kind of thing, but no, I don't time block it. Sometimes my schedule gets so crazy and chaotic and changing all the time that I might just time block the night before. The important thing is that it always has to at the very least be done the night before because you don't want to start your day with no plan. You want to start your day with the plan. You have your plan. You're like, I know what I'm doing from the minute I get up to the minute I go to bed. All right, let's wrap it up here. There we go. Okay, so just to wrap things up, I hope that you guys got a lot out of that. It was a lot of information. It was really dense. If you would like a copy of the slides, let me see. I will post the link. I think I have this slide in the very beginning here. I'll let you guys screenshot it real quick, or I'll drop it in the chat. Sorry, bear with me. I have a lot of slides. At the very beginning on the outline. Okay. If you guys want to screenshot this real quick, and then I'm going to also, oh, it won't let me. There it goes. I'll drop the link in the chat as well. It's going to take you to a Google Drive, and I'm dropping it in the chat also, and you could download the slides. Don't go just yet. We're going to do the giveaway.
I also just wanted to share while you guys are doing this, a couple of things. A mentor once told me in regards to goal setting and goal planning, and I tell this to myself often, when you don't reach your goals, when you look back on the semester or the year and you're like, wow, I didn't reach those goals, it's really not your ability or your inability to not reach your goals. It's more of your inability to plan effectively. So if at the end of the semester you're like, wow, I didn't, you know, get to that 5 mile run that I wanted to get to, um, it's not that you suck at meeting goals. It's like, hey, I just didn't plan well enough. So as you're going through the time blocking exercise and you're falling off and you're over your time block, just be like, this is just me getting better at planning. And I think throughout your CRNA school career, you're just going to get better and better at planning. So that's really the goal, don't focus too much on whether or not you succeeded or failed. It's just like, hey, every day I'm going to get a little bit better at planning my day, and then just take that as a win.
Yeah. Remember, we have the conscious choice to feel good about what we've accomplished, right? And at the end of the day, like what you're accomplishing at the end of the semester or at the end of the year is like way more than the general population. I mean, like 100x. So like you're doing okay. You're doing pretty good. And it's really good to set lofty goals. Like you're not going to get them all. Like I don't get them all because my goals are so big, right? And I like to. It's fine. Like we'll get them next time. All right, giveaway. I decided that I'm gonna ask a question, and whoever the first one to put this in the chat, you're gonna win the free atomic cardiac farm course. Okay. So my question is, what is the name of the topic of our third podcast episode? You can look it up, but the first one to put it in there, I like that Teresa took a stab at it. That was close. But if you're the first one to put it in the chat, you win the course. Ah, G protein coupled receptors. Nice job. Who is that said it first? And if you already have the farm
Hey,
course, we can give it to somebody else. Kay.
okay, you will have
Yay,
to message us.
Kay.
Yay, okay.
Awesome.
Oh, you guys were
So
so close, Heather, Rachel. Oh,
Okay, why don't you can DM your private message Sachi or email and she'll take it down and we'll send you that. Definitely if you guys are interested, we made a quick coupon code for it, time if you want to check out the farm course. Honestly, if you get in there and you're like, I freaking hate this thing and it's a piece of shit, just tell us and we will give you all of your money back. We do not care. And we will take all your feedback and make it better. But if you want to check it out, it's 9 modules. We go after actually, we used to write questions for I just came off the committee for the NCE exam, write the board questions. And the current outline that you have, I actually helped make that outline as well for your C and your NCE exam. I took that entire outline and all of the cardiac drugs that are on your outline. I made sure I covered it in the course. It's taught at the graduate level, but you know how I teach. I like to teach things simply so that you can get concepts really easily. I think it's a good course. People seem to like it. So if you want to check it out, use the code TIME. You can get 30% off, and you freaking hate it, just tell us. I'm happy to give you your money back. So that's that. Things that are upcoming in 2025. So we have a YouTube channel that's going to get launched in February. We actually already started recording videos. We have not podcasts. We have two YouTube editors. So we're going to start releasing hopefully regular videos. We're hoping maybe twice a week, to get that up there. And our first one is about MH. So that's pretty fun. Sachi and I are in the throes of building this full learning platform, which is so, so cool. I actually cried when when he showed it to us. Sachi made fun of me. She's like, "Were you crying?" And I was like, "I'm just like this is insane that we like built this thing." It looks so cool. We're getting some beta testers in there now. That's going to be launched hopefully by the end of the summer. If you haven't checked out our podcast yet, please do. We have regular episodes. We never run ads on there. We are going to start releasing episodes probably once a week now. We write newsletters that are coming out once a week. And I don't know if you guys saw this on Instagram, but Sachi and I were invited to be the hosts of the College Bowl of the ANA Annual Congress this year in Nashville, Tennessee, which is going to be a friggin' blast. Sachi wants to do mad scientist theme with like hot pink lab coats. So we might be going up there looking like Einstein, which will be pretty fun. Um, but that's it. We have our next webinar next month, January 26th at 8 p.m. about how to be successful in clinical. We have a special guest coming for that one, and we're really excited about that. So if you have any suggestions, or honestly, if you want to just email me and give me a quick, like one sentence, what you thought about the webinar or what we can do to improve it in the future, we'd always love to hear that feedback. I'm thick-skinned. You won't hurt my feelings. We just want to make it better for you. So thank you all for coming, and I hope that was informative. Sorry it was a little bit long, but lots of information, lots to share. And